The northern forests are endless, an ocean of black pine and frozen air. When the wind moves through the trees, it sounds almost human, like a voice calling your name from somewhere too far to reach. They say those woods remember every lost soul that ever stepped off the trail. Some people never come back. Others do, but they're never quite the same. I first heard about the Wendigo when I was a child. My grandfather used to warn us not to wander into the forest after dark. It smells your hunger, he'd say, and once it hears your name, it never forgets. Back then, I thought it was a story meant to scare kids away from the wild. Years later, when I joined a small wildlife research team in northern Ontario, I learned that some stories wait for you to grow up before they show you they were real. We set up camp miles from the nearest town, 3 tents, a radio, and the thin comfort of a campfire. Snow fell early that year, thick and heavy, muffling every sound except the pop of burning wood. On our second night, one of the locals, a man named Isaac, told us about a hunter who vanished near Lake Abitibi. His footprints had circled the same patch of woods again and again before stopping abruptly, as if he'd been lifted into the air. The only thing they found was blood frozen into the snow, shaped like a hand with too many fingers. I laughed it off, but later that night, when I stepped outside to relieve myself, I heard something moving beyond the tree line. Not walking, dragging. A wet, rhythmic scrape, followed by a breath that steamed through the cold. I shone my flashlight and saw nothing, yet the sound kept circling, staying just out of reach. The forest felt wrong, too quiet, as if the trees themselves were waiting. By morning, the air had changed. The snow near camp was scattered with tracks, bare human feet pressed deep into the frost, each step ending in long, claw-like impressions. Isaac refused to stay. "It's not an animal," he said, throwing his gear into the truck. "It's hungry and it knows we're here." He left before noon. That evening, the wind carried his screams back to us from the road. We searched, but the snow erased everything. Only the smell remained, an odor of rot and iron like meat left to spoil. When darkness fell again, I couldn't make myself sleep. From my tent, I heard a faint voice calling through the pines. It was Isaac. His tone was calm, almost kind, but wrong somehow. Too stretched, too hollow. "Come help me," it said. "I'm cold." I unzipped the tent flap. The moonlight poured over the snow, and there, just beyond the firelight, stood something that might once have been a man. It was impossibly tall, its limbs thin and bone-white, skin pulled tight over a ribcage that looked ready to burst. Its eyes glowed a sickly yellow, and its mouth stretched open far too wide. It smiled when it saw me. I stumbled backward, grabbing the rifle. The thing moved without sound, one moment by the trees, the next crouched at the edge of camp, its breath clouding the air in thick gusts. I fired. The sound echoed through the forest, but the creature didn't fall. It only tilted its head, curious, like a predator studying its prey. Then it spoke again, and the voice was mine. "I'm hungry," it said, perfect and clear. "Let me in." The others awoke to my shouting. We stayed huddled inside the tents until dawn, rifles clutched tight. When sunlight finally touched the snow, the creature was gone. All that remained were hoof-shaped prints leading deeper into the forest. We followed them only long enough to find Isaac's truck turned over, doors torn away, and a trail of blood that vanished into the trees. By the time rescue arrived, I couldn't explain what we'd seen. They said Isaac must have crashed and been dragged off by wolves, but wolves don't mimic human voices, and they don't leave prints shaped like hands. Weeks later, back home, I started hearing scratching at my window after midnight. At first, I thought it was branches. Then one night, I looked out and saw eyes staring from the dark, amber, patient, unblinking. I left Ontario, but the hunger followed me. Sometimes when I skip a meal, I catch a whiff of that same smell, sweet and decayed, and when the winter wind rises, I hear the voice again, whispering from somewhere far beyond the pines. They call it the Wendigo, the hunger that never dies, the spirit born when man's greed consumes everything human inside him. I used to think the forest belonged to us. Now I know better. Out there in the endless cold, something ancient still waits, thin and starving, wearing the voices of the lost. And once it knows your name, you'll never stop hearing it.